So this weasel, Jared Kushner, decided to resurface out of nowhere and comment about Gaza. And not just comment, but basically he says that the waterfront property in Gaza could be very valuable, which is basically his way of saying, I'd really like to get my hands on this land that doesn't belong to me. And this wouldn't be the first time, of course, because as you know, Jared Kushner is Donald Trump's son-in-law. And when Donald Trump was president, what did Jared Kushner do? He pretended to be some kind of statesman when he's really just a fart. And he wanted to steal more land from the Palestinians and work with the Israelis to do that. And then rather than go with his plan, and you remember Netanyahu wanted to take 30% of the West Bank. I covered all of this and they demonetized my YouTube channel at the time. What a coincidence. Anyway, rather than go with that, they took the Abraham Accords in the end. But nevertheless, let's take a look at this interview he did with Harvard and just listen to what he's saying. It's truly wild, you know?
Jordan took them. For whatever reason, here in Gaza, there's refugees from the fighting, from an offensive attack that was staged from Gaza. Israel's going in to do, a long-term deterrence mission, and it's unfortunate that nobody's taking the refugees.
But also, there are
a long-term deterrence mission. Yeah, it's when you starve 2 million people, it's a long-term deterrence mission. I guess you could see it that way. Yeah, if you're like you're a soulless creep. God.
It's unfortunate that nobody's taking the refugees.
But also,
yeah, it's unfortunate for you, Jared, because I know how much, how badly you want to get your hands on this land that does not belong to you. I know. It keeps you up at night. It truly wreaks havoc on your mind and your soul. You poor thing. When he says take the refugees, let me be very clear. People in Gaza are literally already refugees from the last time the Israelis stole their homes. You guys know this. The majority of people in Gaza already had their homes stolen by Israelis. And now everyone wants them to kick them out again. I mean, the nerve of these people.
So there are real fears on the part of Arabs, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of them, who think once Gazans leave Gaza, Netanyahu's never going to let them back in.
Maybe, but I'm not sure there's much left of Gaza at this point. So, if you think about even the construct, like, Gaza.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see how this works. So, you know what, Jared? I'm going to drone strike your house, and then, I'm just going to say, well, there's not much to go back to anyway. So how about you give me your land, yeah? I'll take the lease right now. Thank you very much. I mean, I swear to God, if I just read to you a transcript of what he just said, these exact same words, but I changed Gaza to, I don't know, London or Warsaw or Paris, you would think I'm quoting some Nazi SS officer. That's what he sounds like.
At this point. So, if you think about even the construct, like, Gaza was not really a historical precedent, right? It was the result of a war, right? You had tribes that were in different places, but then Gaza became...
What are you talking about? Which war? What war? Are you talking about what I said when, Israelis stole their homes and they had to go there? Yeah. But then he says tribes. What tribes? What century are you talking about? Who cares about the history? There are people living there. You cannot just murder them and take them out. Why do Israelis keep talking about 3,000? I don't care about that. It's unbelievable.
Became a thing. Egypt, used to run it. And then, over time, you had different governments that came in different ways. So you have another war, usually when wars happen, borders are changed historically over time. And
yeah, you know what? I agree with you for once. You're right. When wars happen, borders change. So give back Palestine now. Yalla, awam.
So my sense is I would say, how do we deal with the terror threat that is there so that it cannot be a threat to Israel or to Egypt, right? I think that both sides are spending a fortune on military. I think neither side really wants to have, a terrorist organization enclaved right between them. In Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable to, if people would focus on kind of building up, livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that.
Yeah, when you're at war and there's an alien army, a foreign occupation on your land, you just invest in education. You buy school books and pencils and coloring, crayons for everyone. Yeah, that's what you do. Who wants to liberate their country from a foreign invader? Just let's all buy school books. That's what you do.
That it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there, but I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. But I don't think that Israel.
I would move the people out and clean it up. Yeah, like a dirty bar or a pub. Move the people out and clean it out. Jesus. I think you're onto something, my friend Jared. You're onto something. And I think that we should apply this to all of Palestine, especially the area that calls itself Israel. Let's move the people out. You can go back to your country. Netanyahu can go back to Poland or Ukraine. All the Israelis can go back and we clean it out. How about that? Yeah? Can I say that as well? Does that apply to Israel? Or is just Gaza that you want to, put the people out and clean it up?
A little bit of an unfortunate situation there, but I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. But I don't think that Israel.
This is genocidal incitement. When you're saying that about Palestinians in Palestine, this genocide, Palestinians don't come from Morocco. They don't come from Ukraine. They don't come from Poland. They don't come from Scotland. They come from Palestine, and you're trying to kill them or take their land. But when you tell a colonizer, someone who has come from another country, an invader, to go back, that's not genocide. They want you to think it's genocide. It's called decolonization. The whole planet in 1945, sort of, because remember, it didn't actually get implemented, as you can see. This is a prime example. The whole planet understood it's time for the colonizers to pack up and leave. Britain, go home, out of India, out of everything. No more empire. It's done. It's over. Goodbye. The French, get out. And remember, the Algerians were fighting them until in the 50s and 60s even, right? But the Israelis, no, we want to stay. Yeah, we want to clean it up and get the people out. I mean, I swear to God, this guy sounds like a Nazi officer without a shadow of a doubt.
Education or innovation, what could have been done. And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there, but I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. But I don't think that Israel has stated that they don't want the people to move back there afterwards.
You saw Tom Friedman's column.
Really? So he's saying Israel has not stated that they don't want the people to move back afterwards. No, they actually have. They literally have. I can cite examples. Danny Dunham, the former Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, went on TV and said, we want countries, not just Arab countries, but all countries to take Palestinians. Maybe 2,000 over here, another 2,000 over there. The Israelis had a conference about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, about rebuilding illegal settlements in Gaza, which they had to leave in 2005. And it was attended by a dozen of Netanyahu's cabinet ministers. What? Don't lie. You are going to a university that is supposedly Harvard, and then you lie, and no one interjects or corrects him. It's just like, yeah, please come to this so-called establishment of education and just spout poison and garbage and nonsense.
On Tuesday about where he put forward a plan to get out of this. Biden should recognize the Palestinian Authority unilaterally as a state, and MBS should go to Jerusalem like Egyptian President Anwar Sadat did in 1977, and he should say, I'll normalize.
So that's one thing, okay? That's one thing. When you have someone like Jared Kushner, and remember, he is not just Donald Trump's son-in-law, who is, a business mogul, and these people, they only think about, what can I build here? Can I make money? How much is the property worth? He's literally saying people in Gaza should be killed or moved out so he can build waterfront properties. Now, I love that he mentions water. You know why? Because that reminds me of something. There are two other things that are happening right now. Jared Kushner is putting, basically, he has his eye on Gaza. Number two, this is the second part, and pay attention. Egypt is suddenly given 7.4 billion euros by the European Union. 7.4 billion euros. Not only that, actually, look, I'll just show you this clip here quickly, right? Let's play the old witch, Ursula von der Leyen.
Warm welcome and your hospitality. I'm very glad to be back in Cairo. The partnership between the European Union and Egypt is of critical importance. The presence of 6 European leaders today shows how deeply we value our relationship. We share strategic interests in stability and prosperity. And given your political and economic weight, as well as your strategic location in a very troubled neighborhood, the importance of our relations will
Your strategic location in a very troubled neighborhood. Don't you just love the way she speaks? A total witch, an absolute witch. So 7.4 billion from the EU, the International Monetary Fund. Whenever you hear of the IMF, you should run. The IMF just gave Egypt earlier this month, $8 billion. And last month, the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, said they'll invest 32 billion euros in Egypt's economy. Now, look, on the one hand, it's absolutely true. It's correct that Egypt's economy is in the gutter. People are struggling. This is without question, this is true. So, obviously, the idea, if you take it at face value, makes sense. Like, oh, Egypt's economy is troubled, let's give them some money. Fine. But that's not why they're giving Egypt the money. They're giving Egypt the money to buy his silence. Because they're going to invade Rafah in Gaza. Remember, it's right on the border with Egypt. And they want Sisi to take the Palestinians, like Jared Kushner is saying. We know for a fact that the Israeli government, the Ministry of Intelligence, they had a document that was leaked, and I showed it to you, and I published it, and I commented on it, and I put it in the documentary, where they were saying that they should take all of the Palestinians in Gaza, dump them in the desert in Egypt, and pay Egypt. How? By wiping Egypt's national debt, or, for example, in this format, right? So he didn't say yes at the time, Sisi. He talked as if like he wasn't in favor of the idea, but he took the money right now. Didn't he just take the money? Aren't the Israelis about to invade Rafah, where the majority of Gaza's population have been pushed to the border? Let me be very clear. This is not like some idea. It's literally happening. 1.5 million people in Gaza have been shoved all the way to the bottom of Gaza, and they are in Rafah, and the Israelis are about to invade it. And they're paying Sisi to either look the other way and or take in a bunch of Palestinians so that Jared Kushner can come and, start his development projects. But it's not just about waterfront property. We know, I showed you that the Israelis and the Americans are building a pier. They claim it's to give Gaza food. Now, I've been sitting here for 2 hours with you, and I told you in detail how there are 1,200 trucks just waiting to go into Gaza. They could easily go into Gaza this minute, but the Israelis won't let them. The Americans won't let them. And instead, they're coming up with some bullshit plan, like they're going to come with a boat. The boat can't carry enough food to feed the people the way that the system worked with the trucks. What on earth are you doing? This is like instead of mailing you a letter, I ask a pigeon that has never been trained to just, find their way and give it to you. What on earth is this rubbish? You really think that the Israelis and the Americans, who are literally murdering Palestinians, care about feeding those people that they're killing? Why would you feed someone that you're murdering? You're starving them. You don't care about feeding them. This construction site needs 2 months until they can serve a single meal. And even then, it's rubbish. So what's happening right now, all three things. You have Jared Kushner, who's one of many people, coming out and say, you know what? Gaza looks very tasty right now. I'd love to have that on the menu. You got the EU, the IMF, and the UAE buying out Sisi again. Buying his silence, buying his cooperation for this genocide. And you got the Americans, 1,000 US troops that are coming now, and they claim they won't set foot on Gaza. What are they going to do? They're going to fucking levitate? 1,000 US troops, the Israeli army, and a company owned by a former CIA officer that are building a so-called pier in Gaza to feed people. This is about the gas, and this is about building the canal. I told you that this was going to happen. I warned you about this stuff. They want to steal Gaza's gas. You had some moron on Twitter who was saying, well, you know, if Hamas had spent that energy and time digging for the gas instead of the tunnels. Well, no, the gas is in the sea, you absolute cretin idiot. So you need infrastructure. You need to be able to go out into the water. The Israelis have Gaza blockaded. You can't even fish. There is no fishing, zero fishing right now in Gaza. And even before October 7th, it was overfished and horrible. And there's basically a radius that the Israelis maintain, so you can't do anything. So now they're installing the infrastructure. They're establishing a foothold in Gaza in broad daylight. Declaring their intentions, showing that this is all coming. You know, it's basically manifesting. And I want to show you again from my documentary. If you haven't watched it, you have to go and watch it. It's on YouTube. You can just see it afterwards. It's called The Hidden Reasons Behind the War on Gaza. It's 3 parts. Okay, they're all on YouTube right now. So let me just show you. Let me play to you this part that I said about the EU. Okay, about how. Just listen.
And then the United States, you know, the guys who orchestrated the whole deal, go back on their word and they rip it up just like that and reimpose sanctions on Iran. So now Iran is barred from selling its oil and gas to Europe and others. So Russia and Iran, the 2 countries with the largest gas reserves, are out of the picture. Then Israel, all of a sudden, proposed themselves as a solution to the European Union's gas shortages.
Take our trilateral energy, for example, that we closed in June with Egypt and Israel. It has played an important role in our strategy to get rid of the Russian fossil fuels.
How convenient.
Exactly. How convenient. How utterly convenient. It's all coming together. Unfortunately, at the expense, at the demise of the Palestinians in Gaza. Shame on, I mean, I want to say shame on all of us on the world, but it's really the Israelis who should be ashamed. I mean, we do not share that shame, but it really breaks my heart. These people are such demons and monsters, all of them. Ursula von der Leyen, Sheikh Netanyahu, all of them, they are truly backstabbing, devious, cunning, malicious, conniving monsters. They're doing all of this. They are literally committing genocide, starving and bombing millions of people so they can steal gas that's on the Mediterranean coast and also build this Ben Gurion Canal. Remember that the canal, if you want to go from the Mediterranean Sea into the Red Sea and save shipping time and costs, the Suez Canal is the only way through. The Israelis hate that because Egypt nationalized it in 56. Now, today, maybe that's not that big of a problem because Sisi is working for the Israelis and the Americans. But just in case, you know, the Israelis don't care. They think of themselves. They want to build their canal anyway. And this is an American plan that was hatched with them, and it was declassified in the 90s. They want to build that so they control the flow of traffic. You know, this is going to destroy Egypt's economy. How can Sisi go along with this? When the Suez Canal is no longer the only option, and the Israeli one might have 2 lanes of traffic and all the amenities of modern technology just by virtue of being built in 2024, for example, it's going to destroy Egypt's economy. All this money they're giving him it's not going to save Egyptians. He is betraying his own people. He is betraying the Palestinians and betraying the Arabs. I mean, it's really, really scandalous. You know, Nasser is rolling in his grave. He is doing 360s in his grave at the sight of this monstrosity. It's all coming together. It's all coming together, unfortunately. And in part 1, I spoke about the gas, how you have this giant gas field here. Look at that. What's that? Oh, it's Gaza. Huh. What's that? Oh, it's Lebanon. Oh, it's Syria. And what happened? What did the Israelis do? They destroyed, they made sure that no one else, there's no infrastructure in Syria because Syria is being bombed by Israel. They plagued it with Al-Qaeda. They helped to destroy it. They bombed the Latakia port. The Beirut port mysteriously explodes. And then Gaza, of course, they can't even fish, let alone explore gas. And what is the only working port left? Oh, it's Haifa. How convenient. Wow. So this is all in the documentary. Please go and watch it. Because again, I don't want to make this video too long. But, you know, and in part 2, I talk about the canal. Because that also goes through Gaza, if not right next to it. And either way, they would have to basically, you know, commit mass murder in order to dig it, because you know, it will be under attack the whole time. Who would want to sail through the canal when there's Hamas firing legitimately, because it's a national liberation movement. In any case, I have the links below, and I just wanted to show you how scandalous this is. Like, you know, Jared Kushner is a Jew, right? He's an Israeli Jew. So I mean, you know, you can be Jewish and anti-Zionist, and actually many Jews are. They just don't want you to know that. He, on the contrary, is completely pro-Zionist. He's very close to the Israeli government. His father-in-law was the president. He might be the president again. And we know already that he tried to steal a lot of land in Palestine. So this is not some idle threat or, you know, some comments taken out of context. On the contrary, this is a very clear declaration of his genocidal intent, of his business plans and ideals. And you know, we should take him seriously. We should take him at his word. As we should, of course, all these scandalous monsters, Ursula von der Leyen, Sisi, Netanyahu, Joe Biden, you know, all of them. And Donald Trump is just as bad. I mean, forget about it. I'm not even going to go into it. But I needed to tell you about this, that it's all coming together, unfortunately. And you know, this is a plan that has been a long time in the making. Remember the canal, for example, they come up with that in the 60s. Go watch the documentaries, part 1, part 2, part 3. Again, it's called The Hidden Reasons Behind the War on Gaza. And you can see it in the description, and in the comment, you'll find part 2 and part 3. The links are there.